So you could always press your space bar and tell me, or your hip. It's one.
Yeah, yeah, it's not too bad, but I might take it easy on the standing balances.
We're only doing a couple. In fact, we're only doing a couple of standing balances, one-legged ones, so not as much as last week.
Great. Yeah, no, I saw
we're
a video and got some new exercises, so that's really good. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, interesting. It'd be interesting to talk to you about that at some point. So, yeah. Okay. So, yes, lie down onto your backs and big sighing breath or two, and just take a moment to let yourselves arrive and to have a sense of how your body is feeling right now. And some of you have mentioned to me, feeling stiff from sitting, that working from home syndrome, which I think we probably talk about every Thursday evening. And maybe the first thing you could do is, once you're settled on your back, is just let your head roll from side to side. So let your head roll to the left and to the right a few times. And again, remember, with all these things we're doing lying down at the start, you're going easy. You're not trying to do as much as you can. You're not pushing yourselves. And in fact, with everything we do, we're not pushing ourselves. So a couple more times, let your head roll to the right and to the left. Feel that you're easing out the back of your neck. And you're letting the back of your shoulders settle on the floor. And if your legs are, and then from there, just let your head settle down. So the center of the back of your head is resting on the ground. And then if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And have your feet a little distance apart, and just take a moment here to feel the contact of your footprints on the ground and to feel the back of your pelvis on the ground. And then you're going to start to let your knees tilt a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. And see how this feels. Now, it really depends on you whether you keep this movement small or whether you let this movement be a little bit bigger. And it just depends on how comfortable it feels. So how does it feel into your hip joints? How does it feel across the back of your pelvis? How does it feel into your lower back? And try to do a movement that is comfortable for you. And so 2 or 3 more times, let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And yes, please tonight, make sure you stay warm enough. So I'm hoping you've allowed yourself to have the heating on. So pause in the middle now. And I'd like you to now fold your knees into your chest and hold around your knees with your arms. And then do a little bit of rocking side to side here. That's it, across the back of your pelvis. So let your feet be really relaxed. And a little bit of rocking side to side with your knees folded in towards you. And see how this feels. That's it, very nice. Keep your head heavy on the floor. Good. And then what I'd like you to do is pause in the middle, and you're going to take your arms and legs up towards the ceiling and give them a shake out. So arms and legs up towards the ceiling, knees can be as bent as you like. Give the legs a shake out, give the arms a shake out. And then from there, bring your feet back onto the floor. So knees bent, and then cross your arms over your chest. So you've got one arm on top of the other. That's it, good. Now, I'd like you to come back to letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. But I'd also now like you to let your elbows, or really let yourself rock across the whole of your back of your body. So as your knees tilt to the right, roll across your upper back and let your head roll as well. So you're rocking towards the right side of the body and then the left side of the body. So we let the knees, the elbows and the head all rock in one direction and then the other. Good. That's it. Keeping your feet, good. Keep your feet in contact with the floor. So I'd have your feet slightly wider apart, Stuart, and that's it. Don't feel that that's it. Just let your knee, good. That's it. Very nice. Okay, what I'd like you to do from here is then let yourself rock all the way over onto one side and come to settle on your side. So you're going to have your knees bent and your bottom arm, you can make a little pillow for your head. So maybe bend your elbow if you like, rest your head on your bottom arm. And your top arm can either come to rest along the top side of your body, or you can bring your hand onto the floor in front of you. So you're lying on your side, hopefully comfortably on your side. If it's not comfortable with your arm under your head, pop a cushion under the side of your head. And then what I'd like you to do here is see if you can just lift your bottom ribs off the floor. So you're trying to make a little gap between the floor and your bottom ribs. So the ribs that are in contact with the ground come off the floor. It's like you're making a very sort of little low tunnel under the side of your body. And then you bring your ribs back onto the floor. So just try that a few times, lifting your ribs off the floor, letting them come back onto the floor. So your shoulder and the side of your pelvis still stay on the ground. You're just lifting those bottom ribs off the ground. Okay. And then you're going to roll back onto your back. And you're going to roll onto your other side. And we're going to do the same movement on your other side. So roll all the way over onto your other side. Lie with your knees bent. Bring your bottom arm, make a little pillow with your bottom arm if that's comfortable, or use an actual pillow. And then again, the top arm can either rest along the top side of your body, or the hand can stand on the floor in front of you. And just feel the contact of the side of your ribs, side of your rib cage on the floor. And then a few times, can you lift those bottom ribs off the floor? So you're making a sort of little tunnel under the side of your body. So it's not a huge movement, but if you lift your ribs off the floor, you could slide your hand into the gap you've created. So if you're not sure whether you're doing what I'm asking you, you could see, is there space between your ribs and the ground to slide your hand under? Good. And just do that a couple more times. And then what you're going to do is roll back onto your back. And from your back, you're going to roll onto side one again. But this time on side one, we're going to lengthen ourselves out. So roll on back onto side one. And also this time what I've done is I've propped up my head in my hand. You don't have to do this. You could have your head resting down on a long arm. Actually, definitely this time, have your top hand on the floor in front of you. Lengthen out both legs. And you can prop your head up in your hand, or you can have, rest your head down on your arm. And do a little bit of rocking forwards and back on the side of your body. So we're trying to balance on the side of our body and be sort of long here, as if you were standing up, but obviously we're not standing up. Good. And we're going to have a cycle of our buzzing breath here. So we're going to stop rocking. We're going to try and settle down on our side. We're going to let a breath come in. And as we exhale, we'll make a buzzing sound. A bit like, I will demonstrate, some of you know this well. So let your breath come in. As you do so, maybe bring your top arm along the top side of your body to make it a bit more of a balance. So breathing in. And then you're going to roll back onto your back again. This time when you arrive on your back, fold your knees back in towards your chest. And we're going to take our arms and legs up to the ceiling with a buzzing breath. So let a breath come in, and you can shake your arms and legs out if you like. Good. And then fold your knees back in towards you. Bring your feet down onto the floor and roll onto your other side. So I'm just turning around on my mat so I can still see you. So you're going to roll onto your other side. You're going to lengthen yourself out. And again, start with your top hand on the floor in front of you. You can stretch your heels away from you a little bit. So really imagine that you're standing up, but you're not. You're lying on your side. You can prop your head up in your hand, or your bottom arm can be long. And let yourself then rock forwards and back. Just a little bit rolling your weight forwards, rolling your weight back. That's nice. Until you can try and find a point where you can settle on your side. And again, we'll have a cycle of buzzing breath here. So for those of you who don't know the buzzing breath so well, it's I just find it always makes me feel better on, on every level. So let a breath come in. Oh, hand along the top, arm along the top side of your body if you can be steady here. So let your breath come in. And then once more, roll onto your back. And one more time, fold your knees into your chest, and we'll take our arms and legs up to the ceiling with another buzzing breath, the last buzzing breath for now. So let the breath come in. Good. And then feet back onto the floor. You're going to roll again onto your first side, and you're going to lengthen yourself out again. So some of you, quite a few of you know this side balancing pose. We can go a bit further with this one. So come back on your side and be long on your side. Again, have your hand on the floor in front of you. And then we're going to take our top leg into tree pose. Yeah, so we bend that top knee, we bring our foot onto the inside of our bottom thigh, or it can be a bit lower down the leg. You might want to catch your ankle to bring your foot higher up your thigh, and then see what it's like to have a breath or two. And this is a balance, so you might feel a bit wobbly, that's fine. And then from tree pose, we can fold that knee in towards our armpit on the top side of our body. Good, and just sort of hold around your knee with your arm. And then what we're going to do is straighten out the top leg. You could catch a hold of your ankle, your big toe, your trouser leg, lower down on your leg, but you want to try, I suggest you hold on to your leg in some way. Yeah, it doesn't matter how you hold on to your leg. If you've got long legs, you're probably not going to catch your toe. Good. And we're trying to be steady here. We're trying to stretch into both heels, to balance, to breathe, to rest on the ground. Don't worry if you're having a bit of a wobbly time. Good. From here, very nice, you're doing really well. From here, when you come out in a controlled way, come sort of back through the stages. So bend your knee back to your armpit, come back into tree pose, lengthen that top leg out, and then roll onto your belly. And just have a couple of quiet breaths on your belly. So let your, come rest either your forehead or the side of your head on the ground or the back of your hands. And give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle on your belly. A little bit of a wiggle from side to side for your pelvis. And yeah, just a breath or two there. I can't actually believe I'm saying this, but I'm feeling hot. So I'm just going to turn my heating off for a moment. Now, from your belly, you're going to roll onto side two. So we can do that whole balancing movement, Anantasana, on the other side. So roll onto side 2. Remember, the first thing is to lengthen yourself out on the ground. Organise your bottom arm. So I've got my bottom elbow bent. I'm propping up my head in my hand, but you could lengthen out the bottom arm and rest your head on it, or you could make a bit of a pillow with your bent arm. Okay, we're going to, when you're ready, bring our top leg into tree pose. So that top foot comes to stand on the inner thigh, the inside of the bottom leg. And you can see, how does it feel to balance here on the side of your body? Your hand can come and rest on your thigh. From here, you can then let your knee fold in towards, that's it, sort of towards your armpit on the top side of your body. And I'm just holding around my knee here. And again, trying to feel steady. If you feel really wobbly at this point, I forgot to say it on the other side, you can bend your bottom knee and slide that knee forwards. And then that makes you feel a little bit more stable. But you're doing pretty well. And then, yes, like the other side, we straighten that top leg. We reach that top leg up towards the ceiling. We catch onto our leg or our foot somewhere where we can support. It could be around the back of the thigh, the calf, the ankle, the toes. Nowhere, wherever you can hold comfortably is the best place, yeah. There's no better place than other. Comfortably and breathe, yes. Can you breathe? Can you settle through the side of your body? Can you stretch into your heels? See, I really like this balance, because I feel like we're lying down still, but actually there's quite a lot going on. Good, and then again, come out of it the way you went into it, knee towards your armpit, back into tree pose. I always have a bit of a wobble at this point. And then back into having 2 long legs on your side, which probably feels very easy all of a sudden. And then one last time, roll onto your belly and just let yourself relax on your belly. Couple of quiet breaths here. Again, I like to put one hand on top of the other and rest my cheek or my forehead on the back of my hands. So again, you can wiggle your pelvis a little bit from side to side. That usually makes us feel a bit more comfortable. And some of you I know like this variation where we bend our knees. So lying on your belly, you bend your knees, take the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. Very nice feet, everyone. And then let your feet tilt to the right and to the left. Good. So yes, if you're not sure, then do have a look. But it's, yeah, just bending the knees, taking the soles of the feet to the ceiling, tilting the feet and the lower legs from side to side, which can feel, again, that it just helps to release tension around the pelvis and into the lower back. Good. Whenever you've had enough of that, you can let your legs come back onto the floor. And from here, we're going to fold back into child pose. So from lying on your belly, you're going to bend your knees, fold your bottom back over your heels, and just let yourself arrive. Just to maybe a couple of breaths in child pose. And oh yes, some so I thought it's quite important today that we keep moving because of the cold weather. So a couple of breaths in child pose, and then we'll come on to hands and knees. And we're going to carry on thinking about the sort of sides of our body. We'll do some familiar things on hands and knees, and then some things we don't always do so often. So coming on to hands and knees, and the first thing, once you've settled down with your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hip joints, is to come to some cat movements. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor, and seeing how these movements feel today. So we're thinking about sort of moving around the center of ourselves. How does our lower back feel? When we round our back, how does it feel when we let our spine dip down to the floor and our belly softens at this point? Yeah, so we get a bit saggy. And then we round up again. And we can also do our tail wagging movements here. So where we imagine we have a tail and we wag that tail, maybe it's a bit slower if you do have a dog. My dog tends to wag his tail very quickly, so it might be a little bit slower. This tail wagging movement. And we can also do this by moving our lower legs. So we can swing our lower legs over to one side and look down the side of our body towards them. And then we can take our lower legs to the other side and look down the side of our body. Yeah. So when we're doing this movement, this is very much about lengthening through one side of the body and then the other. You can also do this movement quickly, swinging the legs from side to side, but I would then not be moving my head. Yeah. You can swing your legs quickly from side to side. Let the pelvis move with the legs. But yes, it would make me feel a bit sick if I was moving my head with this. It might be a bit more hardy. Okay, we're going to, let's see. You might just want to sit back over your heels for a moment and shake your hands out, because we're going to come to our fox balance on hands and knees. So this is where we lengthen one leg back behind us, one arm in front of us, and we're trying to feel long and steady. So opposite arm and leg. Yeah. So if you're doing the same arm and leg and feeling very unsteady, opposite arm and leg, breathing yourself long from your fingertips to your heel. Trying to feel that the heel is sort of level with the pelvis and the arm is level with your torso, your rib cage. And you're looking down at the floor and you're having a few breaths. And then obviously we will swap onto the other side. This pose is a bit more strenuous than we might think, because we're, the body is making all these little adjustments to try and stabilize itself. So opposite arm and leg, reaching into the fingers, forwards to the fingers, back into the heel. Breathing yourself long. And do come down when you've done both sides. Give your hands a little shake out. And we're going to come on then into plank pose and into side plank. I'm just going to, in case, I'm sure you all know this, but plank pose, we're here. Side plank, we roll onto one arm like this. You can have your feet stacked like I'm doing, or you can keep one foot in front of the other, which is slightly easier. So, and obviously if you've got any sort of wrist or shoulder issues, you might not do that on both sides or at all. So let's start with plank pose and then we roll from there. So you're having your shoulders over your wrists. Really important. Sorry, what was that?
Can I ask a question? With
yes, of course, Sam.
The hand that you're balancing on in side plank, do you keep that where it is in plank, or do you move it more central, if you know what I mean? So when you move from plank into side plank, no,
I keep it where it is and roll over it, I think. Okay. Yeah. And you end up centered over your hand, I think. Okay. I don't think you need to move it centrally. Yeah. It's a good question though, thank you. Yes, so plank pose, the key thing is to keep our shoulders over our wrists, be in a lovely long plank where you're really stretching your heels away from you. And then we roll onto one hand, and you can either keep both feet on the floor, so sort of one foot stepped in front of the other, or you can stack your feet one on top of the other, and we reach up. We try to feel that we're in a long line, that we're not sort of sagging our body down to the floor or sticking our pelvis up to the ceiling. And obviously we roll back into plank and then onto side two. Or you can come down and do side two. So I was just really thinking that well done everyone. And Alison, I was thinking about you. I was thinking, Alison's very sporty. We need to give her a challenge. So, but also warm everyone up. Yes, when you've done both sides of your side plank, what did I have? Oh, I said just, yes. Maybe come back into child pose. Give your hands a shake out. Come back into child pose for a couple of quiet breaths. And just let yourself settle. So a couple of quiet breaths settling in child. And then we're going to go back into plank and from plank into dog in a moment and up into standing. So when you feel you've calmed down after the excitement of side plank, you're going to come back. We're going to go back into plank pose. And this time from plank pose into dog pose and then through a forward bend and up into standing. So again, we want to have our shoulders over our wrists. That's right. Lengthen one leg back behind us, add the other leg in. Have a couple of breaths in plank pose. So now we can maybe just enjoy plank pose without rushing on into side plank. And then from plank pose, we're going to send our bottom up to the ceiling. At that point, you might want to walk your feet in a little bit. You might feel that your dog pose is too long. And you might well want to bend your knees, one knee or both knees. See if you can let your head hang. So when we come into dog pose, we let our head hang. Yes, if you're taking off your socks, it's a very good idea for dog. Of course, you don't have to in this extreme conditions. And from your dog pose, you can have another couple of breaths there. From your dog pose, you're going to start to walk your hands, one hand and then the other in towards your feet. So we arrive in a forward bend. All of the weight in the feet. You can bend your knees as much as you like, but really feel that your weight is in your feet now, not in your hands. And then keep your head heavy as you exhale. See if you can roll up into standing, letting your arms hang. Or if your lower back needs support, walk your hands up the fronts of your legs. Good. And we're arriving up in standing, and I will try to block out that light with my head. So it's very unsatisfactory, but yes, and maybe I'll work out a better solution one day. So look, in standing, we're going to look at, to start with, just this balance where we come up onto the balls of our feet. A very poor balance I showed then. So you're just rocking your weight forwards with both feet. So this is a balance on both feet, where we're bringing our weight onto the ball of our foot and come up and down a few times. Yeah, so coming up onto the ball of your foot, seeing how it feels to balance there, coming back down again. So this is a really good stretch through the underside of the toes. It's really good for strengthening our arches. And it also starts to help us to, I suppose, find this sense of balance, but we've still got 2 feet on the ground at this point. The next time you come up, if you feel steady, stay there and let your arms float up. And you can have your arms just sort of up and wide, let your shoulders drop down. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Just, yeah, very nice. See how it feels to be balancing on the balls of your feet. When you come down, when you let your heels come down, I'd like you to let your arms sort of swoop all the way out and around and back into a forward bend, bending your knees as much as you like, letting your head go. Good. So be as floppy as you can in your upper body. Floppy head, floppy arms, bending the knees. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale again, roll back up into standing. Good. When you arrive back in standing, feet a little distance apart, take your arms up, but keep your heels down for the moment, and come to reaching into one arm and then the other. So as I'm reaching, I'm shifting my weight into my reaching leg. Yes, my reaching leg. My reaching arm leg. Yeah. Okay, very confused there. So you really lengthen out through one side of the body and then the other. You don't have to do that. You could just be in the center, not shifting your weight and reaching up. Either is good. Then I'd like you to reach up through your right arm, catch your left hand around your right wrist, and draw yourself up and over to the left. So you're really lengthening out through the right side of your body. Good. You can come back to the center. You can swap over. Take the right hand around the left wrist, draw yourself up and over. Good. Good. Very nice. And when you come down, just have a little bit of a shake out. Good. And then we're going to come back into that balance on 2 feet. And we're going to do this mudra, this Hakini mudra. So we've done this before. We take our arms up. You can't see my hands there. We take our arms up, and when our arms are up, maybe if I sit down, we touch our hands like this over our head. And then we bring our hands down in front of our chest, all the while balancing on the balls of our feet. And this hand position, I just find it's interesting, and I find it helps me to feel a bit more steady. This mudra, Hakini mudra, is about concentration. So let's bring our weight forwards onto the balls of our feet. So come up into the balance. Once you feel steady, or as steady as you're going to be, unlike me. Once you feel steady, float your arms up, and then we've got that interesting feeling of finding our fingertips. So each finger is meeting its partner. The thumbs are touching over our head, letting the shoulders soften. And then keeping our hands in this position, we bring our hands down in front of our chest. And I like to keep my elbows out to the side here, but really drop my shoulders. Good. And I'm still balancing on the balls of my feet. Possible. Lovely. Yes. And so what you find, and what I find certainly, is having my hands in a mudra, a hand position, it really helps my balance, maybe because I'm not thinking about my feet. Come down, have a little shake out. Let's see. Yes, let's do one more balance. Well, we're going to do 2 more balances, but let's do one more and then a forward bend. We're going to come into a balance where we're coming onto 1 foot now. This Ruth, this is your balance. So you're going to start by reaching up into your right arm, and we're going to be shifting our weight onto our right leg and foot at this point. So reaching up into the right arm, shifting the weight onto the right leg and foot. And from here, we're going to be catching the top of the left foot or your trouser leg and letting your left knee drop down towards the floor. Again, at this point, if you feel wobbly and you need to move, so you're by a wall and your raised arm can be on the wall instead of up, that's absolutely fine. Now, once you've caught your foot or your trouser leg, your raised hand can then come onto your breastbone. And just see if you can settle here. Just sort of settle and be quiet in the balance. Our hand on our breastbone can help us feel more steady. This is this sort of steadying place, Karmanadi. Good. Good. Okay. Very nice. It's always interesting to notice what we feel as we stay in a balance. I'm sort of starting to feel the muscles around my ankles starting to get a little bit, protesting a little bit. Do come down when you're ready. Have a shake out. We'll do the same balance on the other side. And then we'll do a forward bend, and then we'll take this balance a little bit further. So left arm's going to reach up now. And we're starting this process of shifting our weight into our left leg. So we start to feel very long through the left side of the body. As the left leg is becoming heavier, we can peel our right foot off the floor. We can catch our right foot. Let our right knee drop towards the floor. Obviously, again, move near to a wall if you're feeling wobbly. And then bring your hand onto your breastbone. Just try and shift so I'm blocking the light. Good. Lovely. And then just see, can you settle here? Letting the knee drop to the floor, letting your shoulders soften. Good. And if one side's tricky, then do feel that always moving to a wall is a good idea. Yeah. Balances can put us on the spot, literally, which can make us feel, and can make anxiety arise. Good. So yes, do come down, have a shake out. So I certainly know myself, if I'm It's so much easier to do one-legged balances on your own, even not in a Zoom class. And I think, yeah, so when you feel that there's an audience, it's always a bit harder. Without bend, sorry. So first of all, just feet a little distance apart. Let yourself come forwards, bending your knees, letting your head go, letting your arms go. Big exhalation or two. Good. Just a couple of breaths there. And really, when we come into a forward bend, particularly between balances, it's this chance to let our brain have a just, you know, switch off for a bit. Maybe not switch off, just soften and relax from the focus of a balance. So rolling back up again. Back up into standing. Good. So Emma, we're just doing one more standing balance on each side. So there you go. So what I'd like you to do now is, we did some of these last week. You're going to step 1 foot forwards. I think it would be good actually if you started by stepping your right foot forwards. So I'm going to turn around. So you're going to step your right foot forwards. It doesn't matter, I'll stay this way. And then just a little bit of rocking your weight forwards and back. So both feet are still pointing forwards. And we're doing this, I suppose, rather rhythmic movement, shifting our weight into our front foot, shifting our weight into our back foot, feeling our feet on the floor. So everything's dropping down into the feet. Now, I think I might show you what we're going to do. So if you can sort of watch me as you're rocking, that might be quite good. What we're going to do is, in a moment, all of our weight will come into our front foot. We're going to catch that back foot again. But then you're going to release your back foot, bring your hands into prayer pose, and reach backwards behind you with that back leg. And let your shoulders tip forwards in response. Okay, that all might look, anyway, it's fine. Just whatever happens is fine, okay? Think about it as a process. If you are starting to think, oh gosh, what's going to happen as I do this? So let your weight come into your right foot. Catch your left foot for a moment. So find your balance on your right foot. Then you're going to release your left foot. Bring your hands into prayer pose at your breastbone and start to reach back behind you with your left heel, letting your left leg tip up and letting your shoulders tip forwards in response. You don't want to go any lower than being sort of level with the horizon. And you might just have a couple of breaths there. Well done. Good. It's good if your hands are actually touching your breastbone, because it just sort of keeps them out of the way, in a way. Very nice. Well done, everyone. Excellent. Come back up, have a little shake out. Very nice. And then let's step forwards with the left foot. And the same, you know what you're doing on this side now, the same rocking movement. So very important, this is our preparation for really feeling our feet on the ground. Eventually, you're going to rock your weight into your front foot, your left foot, and let all of the weight come into that foot and catch your right foot now. Find your balance here, and then you're going to let go of your right foot, touch your hands together in prayer pose at your breastbone, and reach back behind you with your right heel, letting that right leg tip up. Your shoulders tip down in response. Can you feel long, like we did in plank, like we did in fox? Long from the crown of your head to your heel. Can you breathe? That might be a request too far. Brilliant, well done. Really good. Really, really nice. Okay, and yes, have a little bit of a shakeout. What did I? Yes, and I think in my plan, it does show you coming into another forward bend, which would be nice. So coming forwards again, letting your head go, letting your arms go. If you think it would feel good for your lower back, you could also come down into a squat by bending your knees forwards over your feet. And it's again fine if your heels come up off the ground. It's good to try and have your knees going straight forwards over your feet. But for some of us, it's really good to come into a squat for the lower back. If you have come into a squat, then roll back into your forward bend, sending your heels down, sending your sit bones up to the ceiling. And then from your forward bend, as you exhale, rolling back up into standing. So we're going to come, and actually it doesn't matter too much, but it would be quite, if you're able to stand so you're facing the long edge of your mat, it might help with the next things we're doing. If that's too much of a pain, don't worry. You might just have to turn around for the next thing. So you're bringing your feet a bit wider apart. So if you're facing the short edge of your mat, your feet are as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. And if you're facing the long edge of your mat, your feet are wider apart, but not really wide. And I'd like you to come into these side lengthening movements, yeah? Where we take one arm up, we shift our pelvis to the raised arm side. The other arm is heavy and floppy. That's it. We can go from side to side, long through one side of the body. The other arm heavy and floppy. Couple more times, side to side. Okay, and then what I'd like you to do from here, we're coming to a little bit of a sequence, is you're going to fold forwards from here. So come into a forward bend with your feet this wide apart, just for a couple of breaths and see how it feels. So sinking into your heels, letting yourself fold forwards, letting your head go, letting your arms go. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good. And then sink into your heels and come back up into standing. That's nice. Now, once you're back in standing, you're going to take your feet a bit wider apart. Yeah, not so wide that you start to feel that you're doing the splits, a bit wider. And then we're going to turn one foot out a little bit. You don't have to turn it all the way out so it's level with the edge of your mat. Turn it out a bit and you're going to bend your knees. So the most important thing here, so this leg that we haven't moved stays straight. The foot, where we've turned the foot out, that knee is bending and the knee needs to bend in line with your foot. That's it. And then your arms can float up to shoulder height. So we're coming into this warrior two pose, which I've sort of become rather fond of in the last few months. Yes, I sort of have the backs of my hands facing the ceiling. It doesn't matter too much. You can look towards your middle finger on the front hand, which is the bent leg hand. And you're just trying to feel floaty in your upper body and very stable through the legs and pelvis. And then from here, we come into a side lengthening movement. So we bring our elbow, our forearm to rest on that bent thigh. And then the other arm reaches up and over. So we're feeling very long through the top side of our body. And we have a couple of breaths here. And then from here, we're going to start to swivel around. So what you're going to do is just start to bring your hands down to the ground. That's it. And you're bending your back knee. The back knee comes onto the ground and you end up in this position. Yes, if you're going to end up sort of turned away from me, I'm going to have to turn around so I can see you. So you're in this position where both knees are bent at a right angle. Yes, and the back knee's on the ground. You're not in a lunge quite. What am I doing? Yes, I'm turning around so I can show you, because what we're going to do from here is turn towards the front leg. So we come into a twist. Yeah, that's it, turning towards your front leg. Good, so that's it, Stuart. Turn towards this leg that's forwards. That's it, turn towards the front leg. Really try and drop your shoulders away from your ears so the opposite hand rests on the front thigh. The other hand, the other arm can hang, or the hand can come onto the back of your pelvis. And just have a couple of breaths here. We're trying to feel sort of wide across the front of the chest. Good. Ruth, you're slightly leaning forwards. Just see if you can be slightly more up. That's it. Well done. Good. Excellent. Then what you're going to do is untwist, fold over your front leg, and then you're going to come into a lunge by tucking your back toe under and walking your back leg away from you. So sort of step your back, that's it. So if you can tuck that toe under, you can sort of step your back foot away. So we come lower down here. So we've got more of a stretch through our front leg thigh, our back leg thigh, sorry. The front knee stays over the front heel. And you can just, you don't have to do anything fancy in your upper body. We're just looking for that stretch. If I turn around, we're looking for that stretch through here, through the back leg thigh, by giving the weight of the pelvis to the ground. And maybe having a couple of big exhalations. And from here, from this lunge, we're going to plant our hands down. We're going to step the front foot back into dog pose. And then from dog pose, we'll walk into a forward bend and back up into standing. So from here, if you can plant your hands down, exhale, step that front foot back into dog. Have a couple of breaths. And what I meant from here is you're going to walk your hands into your feet in a moment. So a couple of breaths in dog, and then walking your hands in towards your feet, into a forward bend. So arriving in your forward bend again, letting a breath come in, and then exhaling, sinking into your heels, rolling up into standing. And then we have to do that last little bit of the sequence on the other side. So actually, but before we do that, we're just going to come back to this position where we had your feet, not the widest position, but your feet were sort of the width of the narrow edge of your mat. So not the sort of very wide position. And we're going to come to our breath of joy here, which we have been doing a little bit in the beginning of this year. So we're moving with our in-breath. So we've got 3 arm movements on a single inhalation. We breathe in, we take our arms forwards. We carry on breathing in to take the arms wide. We carry on breathing in to take the arms up. And then as we exhale, bend the knees and flop forwards. And then sink into your heels, come back up into standing. And so actually for breath of joy, we've got our feet a bit wider and we bend our knees a bit. So breathing in, take your arms wide, breathing in, arms up, and then we'll do that one more time. We'll do a bit of joy at the moment. So breathing in, arms in front, breathing in, arms wide, breathing in, arms up, and then and then sinking into your heels, back into standing. And now take your feet a bit wider. Yeah, so we're coming to that sort of wider position, not so wide that you're doing the splits, in danger of it. We're going to turn the other foot out. So I'm hoping you can remember which foot you turned out last time. You're turning it out not necessarily really far. If you bend your knee wants to line up with your foot. So just make sure that's happening. So this leg, the back leg, is straight. We've bent this knee in line with our foot. We bring our arms up to shoulder height. We come to this warrior 2 position where we're sort of floaty through the arms, but very steady and planted from the waist down. Let the shoulders drop. You might look forwards along your middle finger. This is the forwards, is the bent leg arm. Good. And then let your arms come down, come to rest on that bent leg thigh with your forearm. Reach your other arm up and over so you come into this side lengthening position. Have a couple of breaths there. Very nice. Good. Lovely. And then remember from here, we did that sort of swizzling around movement, bringing our fingers down to the ground, bending the back knee. So we come into this position. Our back knee is on the ground. So it's not a lunge. We've got these sort of right angles. I'm going to turn around again so I can turn towards you. So we're upright here. Our back knee is under our hip joint. Our front knee is under our heel. You've got a little bit of sideways distance, yeah? You're not sort of trying to line up your foot with your knee or you'll feel terribly unsteady. And then we turn towards the front leg. Good, we rest the hand, the opposite hand there. The other hand can either, our arm can hang, or the hand can come on the back of your pelvis. Breathing, so as we exhale, we're sending this shoulder back. We're dropping both shoulders. We're feeling wide across the front of the chest. Good, a breath or two here. Lovely, and then untwisting. Folding forwards over your front leg. Bringing your hands down to the ground. So this is then when, if you can, you tuck your back toes under. You sort of step your back knee back into a lunge. So we're looking for that feeling of a stretch through the front of the back thigh. We've still got our knee over our heel in the front leg. And you're just trying to be heavy. You're trying to give the weight of your pelvis down to the ground. Have a few breaths here. Just be looking down at the ground. And then from here, whenever you've had enough in your lunge, you can either just fold back into child pose, or you might like to do one last dog pose. So from lunge, you can plant your hands down, step your front foot back. And sometimes when we step from lunge into dog, it feels a very long dog. So you can always walk your feet in a little if that's the case. See if you can, if you're in dog, can you have a few quiet breaths here? Could it be a quiet dog? Bend your knees, of course, but could you be in dog pose in a quiet way, where you're feeling the flow of your breath? And whenever dog stops feeling quiet, then fold down into child pose or kneeling. That's it. So dog pose into child pose, and definitely have a few quiet breaths there. Good. So we've been quite, what shall I say, quite active today because I just don't want anyone to get cold. And in a moment, we're going to start to make our way towards lying down and doing some breathing lying down. But I thought we could make our way into lying down with a little bit of rolling backwards. So maybe just come and sit and lean back on your hands and give your legs a little bit of a roll. So if you, what was I going to say? If you've just had enough at this point and want to lie down, by all means you can do that. If you want to make your way into lying down by doing some of these movements, so we first of all we're trying to round our back. So we slide our hands from our feet to our knees, we look down at our belly. This is all quite easy actually, it's not too bad. Yeah, feet are staying on the floor, but then we can start to see, if we bring our hands around the back of our thighs, can we rock back? And then can we look forwards to come up again? So it makes a big difference, this looking forwards. We look down as our belly as we go back. And then to come up, we look forwards. And I was doing this earlier and not looking forwards, and it was so much harder. So rocking back, coming up. Okay, this is all not too bad. But of course, if you want to make this all a little bit more of a full abdominal workout, we can try and come into this balance where we lengthen our legs out. And my top tip at the moment is actually I'm going back less far. So it does feel more of a balance. So I'm sort of rocking back and I'm probably letting my feet come up sooner and then lengthening my legs out. Yeah, so I'm maybe not going so low. Oh. yes, maybe try this 3 times, and then after the 3rd one, you can lie down. So I just thought we'd get a little bit of a workout for our abs in here. So yes. So again, I think the trick, if you are going to try and straighten your legs out of balance, don't let yourself go too low. So you're very much balancing on the back of your pelvis, your lower back, not your rib cage. Oh, and then just enjoy being on your back. And when you arrive on your back, yes, just do whatever you want. If at this point you're thinking socks or warmer things, then definitely put them on. And we're just going to do a few little movements lying down and a bit more of my favourite buzzing breath. Because again, I was just thinking earlier how, you know, the sound is very powerful in helping us to feel better and release whatever we need to get rid of. So when you arrive on your back and you've got your socks on, you might like to revisit these movements where we let our knees tilt to the right and to the left. Just keeping it sort of very easy and relaxed. That's it. So feet, knees bent, feet standing on the floor, letting the knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then from here, we're going to fold our knees in towards our chest. And you can then hold around your knees and do a little bit of rocking from side to side. And again, we're going to come back to something we did earlier, which was with our buzzing breath, we're going to take our arms and legs up towards the ceiling. And then we'll fold back in. We'll do this 3 times. So you can stop rocking, you can settle in the middle, you can let a breath come in, and then as you make your buzzing sound, take your arms and legs up to the ceiling and shake them out. At the end of your buzzing breath, fold your arms and legs back in, you know, hug around your knees again. Let a breath come in. And again, with the buzzing sound, we'll take the arms and legs up to the ceiling. Fold your knees back into your chest. So we can do that one more time. Let a breath come in. And as we exhale, take the limbs up towards the ceiling and give them a shake out if you like. And then this time, let your feet come onto the floor and maybe lengthen your legs out for a moment. So even if you don't like lying with your legs long, lengthen them out completely on the floor. Give your legs a little bit of a roll or bounce your knees. And then if you prefer to lie with your knees bent, you can bend. We're going to settle down. We're going to do a little bit more buzzing breath, just lying down. If you want to put a blanket on, this would be the point to grab a blanket, or if you need anything warmer. So yeah, blanket, socks, jumpers, lie either with your legs long or with your knees bent, however's most comfortable. And I would suggest maybe bringing your hands onto the front of your body. There's something quite comforting about resting with our hands on the front of our body. We can feel our body responding to our breathing. And I wrote in my book that we would have 3 quiet cycles of the buzzing breath, which probably sounds like a contradiction in terms, but I mean just gentle. So in your own time, you can let a breath come in, and then we have sort of long, soft buzzing sound on our exhalation, and we'll do this 3 times. So let the breath come in. And then again, letting another breath come in. And with your last buzzing breath, just really think about how can you let your shoulders really soften. Just really let your body rest as the breath leaves you with that buzzing sound. So let the breath come in. Good. And then we'll just lie quietly for maybe a minute. The hands, if you like, on the front of your body. So just feeling your body responding to the movement of your natural breath through you. And letting your body rest on the ground. All those points of the body that are in contact with the ground, really giving their weight down. The back of your head, the back of your shoulders, elbows, parts of the back of the pelvis, your heels. So in a moment, I'm going to ring my singing bowl 3 times. So just let yourself rest until we reach the end of the 3rd sound. So yes, just take your time to come back around. And it's like there's some sort of psychedelic disco going on in your lounge. I don't know what it is. It's like very wild colours and lights here.